How's it going, everybody? So we have a fun review today as we're talking MaXXXine. What an adventure it's been with this horror trilogy from Ty West. Both X and Pearl each brought their own fun stamp to the horror genre, so as to be expected, I had the expectation going in that MaXXXine would do the same. In 1980s Hollywood, adult film star and aspiring actress MaXXXine Minx finally gets her big break. As a mysterious killer stalks the starlets of Hollywood, a trail of blood threatens to reveal her sinister past. Rarely has a trilogy ever come along that has done something so unique within the horror genre, with each installment evoking a different era. X had that gritty 1970s feel to it. Pearl harkened back to the classic era of Technicolor, whereas with this film, MaXXXine brings that aesthetic of the grimy 1980s slasher, using it as a backdrop to gaze into the dark underbelly of Hollywood through MaXXXine's pursuit of stardom, which made a lot of this entry so much more tantalizing. In MaXXXine, they perfectly replicate the all-around style of the era, and that's on top of the amazing soundtrack and score from Tyler Bates, which enhances the entire viewing experience. Now, MaXXXine does take place several years after the events that transpired in X. I actually highly recommend you go back and rewatch X. Not that you need to understand what's going on, but I do think it will overall enrich your experience watching it before going into MaXXXine. And with how X concluded, I couldn't wait to see where her journey would lead her next. And the next chapter in MaXXXine's story in this adds a lot of interesting new layers to her character. The constant pursuit that she has continues of her becoming a movie star, early on seeing her audition for a part in this horror film called The Puritan 2, which, not to get off track a little bit, The Puritan 2 looks pretty awesome from the stuff that we do see in the film. Honestly, I would probably watch the Puritan movies if they were actually real. Wrapped up in all of this drama surrounding MaXXXine, there also is weaved in this exciting mystery angle, having a killer skulking about murdering some of her friends, leading into a lot more panic and intrigue into the story. A major thing that I thought was fascinating about MaXXXine, which I kind of expected just because both Pearl and X were wildly different tonally, was just how much MaXXXine leans into the crime thriller genre as opposed to just being a straight up slasher horror flick. There still is plenty of nice wild kills and a great usage of gore sprinkled throughout. Admittedly, there isn't a ton of gore, but the gore that we do get will leave a lasting impression. But there's a good amount of focus storyline wise in developing various investigations that ultimately, to me at least, had a pretty satisfying conclusion to it. Similar to in both X and Pearl, the major standout in MaXXXine, of course, is the powerhouse performance of Mia Goth. After how great MaXXXine was in X, I really like the depth that they brought to the character in this installment, and how they choose to expand upon her journey, adding much deeper dimensions to the character. It's very powerful witnessing her try to deal with her trauma from all of those years ago, attempting to build herself back up again, pursuing her dreams, even despite her sanity being put to the test, with all this stuff going on around her, being investigated, and this killer on the loose. It's evident that no matter what, she wants to gain closure from the terror that she's been plagued by. Inevitably, when we get into the last act, where she tries to reclaim her strength, it's very powerful stuff. It's kind of difficult to compare all of her different performances between X, Pearl, and MaXXXine. However, after MaXXXine, I think this cements MaXXXine as a character as one of the more recent iconic final girls, even if she is quite different than the usual archetype. Outside of Mia Goth, MaXXXine has a pretty great supporting cast that arguably rivals the great ensemble in X. Giancarlo Esposito is shockingly hilarious as MaXXXine's agent. Unfortunately, we don't get to see Elizabeth Debicki in too many projects, but she did kill it here. Lily Collins' role in this is pretty small, but I do think it's very memorable, same as Halsey. Out of this entire supporting cast, I think my personal favorite goes to Kevin Bacon. He's just delightfully sleazy as this private investigator with this southern drawl, and due to that, anytime he popped up on screen, it was extremely entertaining. Admittedly, even though I enjoy the overall story in MaXXXine, I don't feel it's as sharp as X or Pearl. That isn't to say that MaXXXine is bad or anything whatsoever. I actually think it's a pretty great horror film. I enjoy the overall commentary about the dark depths that someone may have to go to carve out any sort of success in Hollywood. And this certainly does take a lot of influence from the 1980s era of horror slashers and crime dramas. It takes some of the good and bad inspiration and how it chooses to form its narrative, where there's some stretches in the middle where my mind kind of started to wander, wondering where all of this is actually leading in the end. Regardless, once we get into that final act of MaXXXine and everything comes together, it is so much fun, partially due to it being set in a very memorable location, which made everything so much cooler. Obviously, I'm not going to delve into too much about the killer because I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. There is a lot of framework throughout the storyline that it's supposed to be the Night Stalker, and we do get a reveal, and I guess it was a satisfactory enough reveal. I kind of saw the reveal coming. I will be intrigued on how everyone feels about the big killer reveal. Overall, MaXXXine caps off this Ty West trilogy in satisfying fashion. It's an all-around exciting blending of genres that I definitely think fans of X and Pearl are going to have a great time with. I don't know yet how I'd feel about where I'd rank this amongst the three films. I definitely think X is still my personal favorite, but Pearl and MaXXXine are going neck and neck in my second place and my third place. I think this trilogy, on the whole, is a pretty fantastic trilogy. So even if I did put MaXXXine in third place, I still think it's a contender for one of the best horror films that came out this year. But once you get a chance to check out MaXXXine, I'd love to know your thoughts down below. Share them. How'd you feel about the film? Did you like the film? Did you not like the film? How would you rank this trilogy on the whole between X, Pearl, and MaXXXine? Make sure you share your thoughts down below because the fun is that conversation with you guys down there. And thank you guys, as always, for checking out the videos. I always do appreciate it. Make sure you like on the video and also subscribe to the channel to update reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. Till next time, I'll see you guys later.